Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the Flywoo FlyBee 16 HD04 it says on the website. And this thing, you might not be able to tell, is about the size of a deck of cards. And yes, it does have an 04 in it with soft mounting on the platform there for the camera. And this one, they don't have listed on the Flywoo website in any of their categories. And I found it via search, so I will just put my search results link down in the video description. If you're interested in taking a closer look at this or investigating it further, I'll also link it wherever else it might be available at this time. Those might be affiliate links, they might not be, but use them if you'd like. They're there for your convenience. The flight controller is the Goku F405 HD. That's a 1 to 2S flight controller, and it is version 2. And we do get this wiring map for it as well. Of course, it has the DJI 04 in it. This is what we call the 04 Lite. So it's a super small and light version of the 04 Pro. And it has our USB port that's available for activation and updating right over here. And our bind button is right there. Motors are the Robo 1003 14,800 kV. And on those motors are 40 millimeter gym fan props. Those are 1.5 millimeter shaft props. We do get 3 different battery trays that will hold various sizes. You may find that a battery might fit in here, whereas maybe it's designed or it says on the label it's 550. But I've kind of covered that in the FlyLens 85 video. So if you want to know those particulars, I would suggest looking at that video, which I will link in the video description below, and I'll put a little card right up here. It comes with 2 spare foam pads for the bottom of the quad. You get a right angle USB port, which is super handy when it comes to getting in here for your 04 activation and updating. That right angle adapter is really important. Of course, we get an extra set of props. We get an extra set of clips that hold the motor wires to the frame, and kind of a various screw kit. You might call this a replacement kit or a repair kit. Comes with various different screws. We also get a support, and on the other side is a social media. We get this sheet of stickers, which I think is to mark your batteries. And we also get this large sheet of stickers and 2 smaller Flywoo brand stickers. It weighs 47.8 grams. I flew it on these batteries, which do fit one of the battery holders that they send it with. With the G&B 550, the red label, it weighs 76.97 grams. With the Tattoo R-Line, it weighs 79.13 grams. With the G&B 720 red label, it weighs 84.7 grams. And with the Tattoo 850, it weighs 87.6 grams. The carbon fiber of the quad frame is 2 millimeters thick. Okay, we're going to start with the outside. I did fly it inside, but I don't think this is a good one for inside. And start with the proof of concept, the DVR, that I do have RockSteady on. You may be aware recently that there are some issues on some quads with the 04, or what we're calling the 04 Lite, and having RockSteady on and getting stable video. So just a little proof of concept. We're going to start off with the DVR. So this is our representation of what we see and when we're in the goggles and enjoying the flight. And I do have some weather data to report. 32 degrees on this particular flight, 5 to 7 miles an hour on the wind. So we do feel more of that wind during this time of year. You know, there's just less greenery, less knock down the wind. But this is actually almost a week ago now, I believe. We had actually some pretty good temperatures at 40s. I think I even saw a 52-degree day one day. And then we had rains. Thankfully, we had rains. We didn't get more snow. And most of this snow is now gone, which is great because I'm about a week away from getting this cast off to where I'm going to be able to go outside. Hopefully, it'll dry out over the coming week and 10 days, whatever I've got left of the cast. And I'll be able to take all these quads back out that I have been reviewing in the slow, sort of cinematic sort of flight style, and I'll be able to take them back outside and fly them more aggressively, more like I'm used to. I think I probably would be good to do some practicing before I go out and do that. I mentioned that, you know, this one is really small, and so you can fly it inside, and I did fly it inside, especially on those super cold days and it was windy. But I just don't think it's a good candidate for inside. Of course, if you've got the skill set and the confidence, or you've got an environment that's pretty robust or industrial, it's probably more likely to be safe because these are exposed props. And even small props on small quads, they will mark up your walls, especially if those walls are painted and they have their sheetrock, you know, traditional construction that we might see here in the U.S. and maybe other parts of the world as well. They'll dig in and at the very least mar up the walls to where you might need to do some touch-up painting, and at the very worst it can cut that top layer of paper that we oftentimes see on sheetrock. Some flight times to report on the G&B 550, I got about 4 minutes of flight across some different flights that I had. With the Tattoo R-Line 550, 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Of course, that battery is heavier as well. With the G&B 720, I got about 6 minutes. And with the Tattoo R-Line 850 that I waited in the quick specs, 6 minutes and 35 seconds. So I don't really think the difference between the G&B 720 and the 850 as far as flight time goes is worth adding that weight, because whenever we add weight, we kind of bring down durability. That's theoretical, because, you know, inertia, mass, those things increase impact. When you have increased impact, you have the increased likelihood of damage to the quad. At the very least, damage to the props, because that's going to be something that's always kind of out front and personal. But that is a pretty good amount of the flight for outside. You can see how it flies in my environment. With RockSteady on, we get good stable footage. You also got to start the flight with the DVR footage from what we get recorded on the goggles, kind of our goggle view. We're going to jump into our inside flight here. Again, I start off with the DVR so I can show you that the camera is set up and it's got it set to RockSteady. Of course, you can change these things on your own if you wish to. That's just, I'm showing you the proof of concept of what I'm doing. Because of that issue with the 04 light potentially being an issue. So either this quad does not have the issue, if you saw my recent video on what I saw with the fix, or a potential fix and having unstable RockSteady footage on the 04 light. This one never had it. It's got the classic Flywoo dampening that we see with the independent camera platform. But one thing I do see with this, and I don't know if you can pick it up or not, but there is like some flashing of some colors at the lower portion of the screen, or the video. I think I can kind of see it in the upper portion at the edges too, and I don't know if that's a lens issue or if it's a lighting issue. I did fly this at night, and I feel like I still kind of saw it at nighttime, but you know, that could be a one-off, just something, you know, specific to the particular lens that I got with this particular unit. I don't know, but, you know, I have got a few of these 04 lights, and this is the only time that I saw that sort of what I would call a video aberration. Maybe it's the props, some reflection off the props as it spins. That's what it kind of feels like. But now we've switched over to the onboard storage video with RockSteady on, of course, and I don't see it. So maybe it's only in that wider view that we get in the DVR, because with RockSteady on, it crops in a little bit in order to be able to kind of smooth us out as we're flying around, and we might have any bumps or vibrations. But I wanted to make sure I showed you that. Not the best of flights. I am flying pretty cautiously, of course. A little bit on the limited capabilities with the cast on my hand. But I did spend some time flying this one inside, and I thought I would share it with you because, yeah, it's possible. It's not really viable. Again, if you're a risk taker or you're in an industrial space and this is what you've got to fly and you want to fly it and you won't get in trouble for doing any damage, then, you know, that's up to you. But it's not something I would recommend. So if you're not familiar with the channel, I've got a cast, and so this is not my typical sort of preferred flight. I will be coming back and revisiting this, as well as all of these quads that I've kind of covered in the slower sort of format when I get my cast removed, as I've kind of previously mentioned. I am kind of struggling with thinking, how do I thumbnail, how do I title those videos so that people know that those will primarily only be just a flight video. It won't have much of or any desk review sort of stuff. So I'm kind of struggling with that because I don't want to lead people astray, and I don't want to be confused or cause any sort of confusion with people trying to differentiate between the longer form review flights, which is what I've been doing, versus the short sort of freestyle capability flights. So if you got any ideas, please let me know on how I can thumbnail or title those videos, because that's something in my lack of creativity that I am struggling with. Just as a refresher, on the 850 across a couple of flights, I got 635 in that sort of flat flying. 720, 6 minutes, so only 35 more seconds with the 850. 550, I got 445, and the 550 with the GNB, I got 4 minutes, so 45 extra seconds here. But these batteries are going to weigh more than their other counterparts. Just want to make sure I covered that. I mentioned it already, but this has the classic independent camera platform with gummies on it, and the case does look a little bit different. So this is kind of Flywoo specific. I don't know if you bought this as a kit or if you had to add this, if it comes with this little plate to put around the 04 camera, because it is used to mount to that platform. That's something to be very careful about when you're doing your ordering and looking on their website. While we're down here at the bottom, we have these little 3D printed clips. Those are used to make sure that the motor wires stay against the frame so they don't get clipped. You can see here on the top, it's just kind of got the clip opening right there. So something that's important, and I wanted to show this, that I found that if you don't do this, you'll probably get unstable footage. So I'm going to slide this battery in. Yes, the 550 does fit in here. So when I first flew this, oh geez, I had this back shortly after I broke my wrist. So it's got to been 2.5, 3 weeks then. So you'll note that I have my battery lead over here. Normally I would center this battery in the holder, but you want to plug it in and you want to have this pulled away, because if you have, say you have this up front, this wire can actually come in contact with the camera platform, and then that will kind of ruin the stabilization that the gummies might provide. And I noticed that on one of my first flights. I didn't actually notice the wire hitting the platform, but when I reviewed the footage, I was like, whoa, this is bad. This is, got the problem, so to speak. Well, it didn't actually. I just didn't do a very good job of noticing that this battery lead was touching this platform. So when you plug yours in, you want to make sure that you're kind of pulling this away. Something else you can do, and it's something I do recommend for pretty much all quads, when you've got the battery lead coming off the power pads for the all-in-one flight controllers. All-in-one flight controllers can be quite pricey. I always encourage people to zip tie them to the frame. In this case, I think going through this hole right here and then looping it around, that would do two things. It would secure it. You want to have a little wrinkle in there too. You don't want to have it taut when you pull on that to zip tie that down. You want to have it a little bit loose between the zip tie point and the solder point where the wires go down to the all-in-one. But that would eliminate that issue where the wire would be against this platform, and therefore would eliminate any potential problems that you might have with footage. Of course, there are limits. If you go out and fly in high winds with a little guy like this, your footage is going to be appropriate for the environment. But as I showed you, it does have smooth footage with RockSteady on, and in the DVR as well, without RockSteady. And the key point is to make sure this wire stays off this camera platform. You probably also notice we just have one antenna right here, right? An antenna. Not like Montana, antenna. I know, that's a good joke. Maybe I should just start saying it the other way still. My 17-year-old corrected me. But so this one is coming off the video transmission system for the 04, and this is our Express LRS off the main board. It just looks a little funny because you've got antenna placement for two, but they use the hole in the frame for the Express LRS and this other mount for our 04 and antenna. It's hard for me to say. We do have 3D prints out here on the ends to protect from delamination or give you some protection for frame damage up here. Of course, your camera is well and exposed, so if you do go headlong into any object, the camera is going to be one of the first items to hit. So you want to be careful if you don't want to damage things. I have had a few minor slow crashes inside, nothing that I think is noteworthy. Outside, I didn't have any crashes because of the way I was flying, but my 04 has held together fine with my handling and my very mild crashes inside. So I don't have any damage to report there. My props might be a little nicked or scuffed up, but again, very, very, very minor stuff. One thing I do like about this tray, and I always kind of worry about this because I've seen it, the tray kind of couples, the way they have it built, kind of couples in these two connectors with this frame bar right here, not frame, but this plastic mount. But this plastic mount is supported directly by the entire stack screws. So if you hit this very hard, which, if we're looking at that profile, there's not a lot of space between hitting the camera, hitting the motor's props, and the bottom of this. So I'm not terribly concerned about it. It's just something I wanted to make sure I noted. They did use nuts down here in the bottom, and those do look to be lock nuts, so they should not come loose. Plus, you also have the foam that will kind of hold them in place. So I don't really have a problem with that, but it's something to kind of pre-flight check, make sure things are flat, kind of run your fingers across things to make sure your screws are all down and everything is in good shape. A nice little pre-flight check. I do think that unless you want this platform, the smallest, no, it's not the smallest, but if you want this size of platform, this would be the one to get. But I would encourage you to take a look at the Flywoo website if you're looking at this particular quad and looking at the 2-inch version. Now, I am a big fan of the FlyLens 85. That's the one with the classic prop protection, and I had that one on the channel with the 04 Pro, so that is another option. But if you're looking for something without prop protection, which tends to fly a little bit better in more environments or winds because of the lack of prop protection, because you don't need the prop protection, then this one, but I would lean more towards the 2-inch version. But I don't have the 2-inch version to look at. So in general, with a larger prop and a larger platform, it's going to fly longer. It should actually be able to fly more aggressively, a little bit better, as well as handle just higher winds in general. The price difference between the two, I think, is relatively minor. I'm seeing it starting at $107.99, just like this one does. So they have a couple different options. You can get this one on the DJI Bind and Fly. I have a lot of people coming and asking me about flying it with different sorts of DJI remotes. My answer to that question is I don't have any DJI remotes. I gave away the only one I ever had, so I can't verify that for you. But natively, as I have mine here with ExpressLRS, it is not set up to use a DJI remote. Now, they do have a DJI plug-and-play option, which I presume, from how it's written on the website, does mean that you can use it with a compatible DJI remote. Now, which is compatible? Well, you need to look up an 04 compatibility chart, and it will show you the different DJI components. And that's the problem. That is a problem with DJI, is they don't maintain compatibility. Whether they can't because their changes are too dramatic, or they just choose not to for business purposes, I don't know. We can speculate until we're blue in the face on that. But there's DJI compatibility charts all over the internet that will tell you whether the 04 is compatible with your equipment. And when you ask me, that's what I look up and I point you towards. So if you get it similarly to what I have here, but in the DJI Bind and Fly version, $224.99, which isn't terrible. We've seen higher prices in 04s. If you get it with out the 04, it's only $107.99. If you get it with ExpressLRS, it's $224.99. If you get it with TBS Crossfire, it's $251.99. Of course, there are options with those receivers and not getting it. They also do a service to where if you buy it with other equipment like goggles or a radio, they say on the website they will pre-bind them, so you don't have to bind them when you get them. But I have never heard of anyone buying a bundle and then giving me any sort of feedback, so I don't know how that works. I did notice that as I started the video that I could not find this one on the website as I started this recording unless I did a search for FlyBee 16 HD04. I will link that search page, which does contain the 2-inch version, down in the video description if you want to check it out. If it becomes available to other sites, or if you have a site that it's available from in your location and you would like to have me link that down in the video description, I will certainly do that. I don't exclusively link affiliate stuff. The links directly to Flywoo's website would be an affiliate link, though. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.